Jordan!
Iain!
Who fancied a chat about some real UFO and alien encounters, so casually called their good personal best friend Paul Sinclair to set up an interview?
Bill Murray?
No. Two guys. What? Welcome to episode 152 of Two Guys What's Up, the weekly comedy podcast where the intros are usually a joke. But today, it's nothing but the truth. Proof.
Oh.
My name is Iain, and this guy is Jordan. Jordan, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
And just like you've alluded to, Iain, I'm a bit excited.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear this, because I haven't listened to it yet. You were like, send me it, I'll keep a hold of the gold.
Yeah.
You do another shitty episode.
You go sort your stuff out for whatever it was, Burger Time or whatever your podcast was.
Question burgers, something like that.
That's the one. So yeah, I'm super excited. I feel like we should just spill the beans now.
I think that's probably a fantastic idea, Jordan.
So who was it, Iain, that we met yesterday?
We met a very prominent figure in the world of ufology, and it's one who lives on our very own doorstep. I've done stories from his books in the past, from his Truth Proof series, and it was Mr. Paul Sinclair.
Oh, amazing. Mm-hmm. He was, can I say, a real delight and very, very courteous to us.
He was indeed. It was lovely. He was very open and candid about his experiences in both ufology and alien encounters that have spanned from around the ages of 4 years old right up until later life.
He also gave us coffee and biscuits, so that was nice too.
Yeah, and Paul, if you're listening, I do apologise. I left my coffee cup on your windowsill, and normally it stresses me out to no end when people do that at my house. I think it's probably a normal thing, but it kept me awake last night.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
I'm sorry as well, Paul, because I left mine there too, but I mean, Iain told me to do it.
I did, yeah.
I knew it was wrong.
I slipped him a note. Now, I came away thinking, shit, like I could have at least gone, oh, by the way, where would you like us to leave our coffee cups? Because then it's inferred where to leave it. It's, oh yeah, just leave that there, I'll sort it out. But me just being like, well, I've finished with this bit of crockery, I'll just leave it wherever the fuck I want.
Yeah, and where's the rest of your biscuits, Paul?
Yeah, I'm taking them with me, Paul. To be fair, he did say I apologise a lot, so I've done it again.
Yeah, you're just such a nice fucking guy, Iain.
Such a delightful bastard.
There was something that happened really weird, though, after we got back home.
Yeah.
You told me you had experiences at your house.
Yeah, so I don't know if this was in the recording, but Paul spoke to us about something called the hitchhiker effect, which is where essentially if somebody goes into an area of high strangeness and experiences something, or it maybe even just talked about it, brings it into the consciousness of the group, when you go away, it can hitchhike with you essentially and follow you home, and it can start acting up in your own house. I was coming down the stairs and I saw a shadow move on the wall sort of in the hallway ahead of me, but the only light that comes in from there is from the back courtyard, so nothing could have been in there. I mean, there was no one else in the house. My wife was at work, kids were at school, so I just saw this shadow move against the hallway wall as I was coming downstairs, and I was just like, in true Iain fashion, I was going to ignore it. I ain't giving it the power. It can get fucked.
Yeah.
And then I sat down and I heard like cat mewing from upstairs. And when you can pinpoint where sounds are coming from, like if it's coming out the front of your house.
You know your house, don't you?
Yeah, the back of your house, inside, upstairs, next door, whatever. This sounded like it was coming from the top of my stairs. Surprisingly, where I caught that EVP.
Oh, that one that was like me, 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 me.
Precisely. Yeah, so it kind of just sounded like a meow, meow, meow. Like constantly.
Are you sure it's not builders outside my house that are redoing the surface on the roads?
They were just reversing, and I'm so attuned to you that I used your hearing. Possibly. So, Jordan, without further ado, shall we just jump straight into the interview?
Yeah, go on then.
Right out, let's go! So, Paul Sinclair, thank you very much for joining us today on this very special interview episode, one that I am wholly unprepared for.
Me too.
And how are you? You all right?
I'm good, and I'm not prepared also, but I'm looking forward to speaking with you guys because we had a great time, what was it, about a month ago at Scarborough?
It was
Yes.
early
And
October.
really enjoyed it. Great being in your company, and when you said, shall we do this, I couldn't wait, so thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. It means a lot.
Appreciate that. And can I just say, I didn't realise that you paint.
Well, I've not picked a brush up now, probably. That's a 2015, does it?
2015.
So that'll be 10 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And self-taught, yeah, they're interesting oil paintings, let's put it that way.
If you did that without picking up a brush 10 years ago, imagine what you'd be able to do now.
Well, the people are going to want to see that now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is, Paul. But no, that's just the way it is. And I suppose it's like everything in life. There's so many different aspects to a person that people don't see and don't know, because obviously we're here today. We're going to touch on some things of an unexplained nature, and that's basically where we're at. But there's life outside of the unexplained.
That is true. Yeah,
Hobbies and interests.
There's a person behind the abductions.
Absolutely. And we don't want many more of them. But
no, not at all.
But I'm here today, and I'm quite happy, Iain, Jordan, to just talk about whatever you want. So you just hit me with those questions, and we'll do it as honestly as we can.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Listen to me, I'm saying wheel, as though there's two of me. I've not got anybody else speaking inside my head, I assure you.
Let us know if you do.
Good to get that on record. So, first question for you, Paul. In October, when we had the live event, an audience member's question was, what would you say to an alien? You said that as a child, you would ask it why it drilled into your arms and it drilled into your back. And that answer was taken, and we unfortunately had to move on. And I think, as I said to you earlier, the audience sat forward and thinking, oh my God, like this is the kind of thing that we want to hear, want to listen to, but we did unfortunately have to move on. I was just hoping today that we're going to just jump right back to your childhood, talk about where these experiences started, how they progressed into your adulthood, just get your experiences, really.
Yeah, not a problem. Obviously, we don't know when these things began, because a child, 4 or 5 year old, isn't going to keep a diary of no record of these events.
Yeah.
All I know is, and if you want me to start at my earliest thoughts on this, my dad came and woke me up one night. I'm in the back bedroom of this council house in a place called Old Dennerby. Pastures and cattle in the field in the back garden, and the village of Mexborough in the distance. Paint this picture for you guys now, because then it'll make a little bit of sense, because to the right of us there was the Mexborough power station, and the cattle, even the cattle in the field, will make sense in a moment. And he woke me up, which were unusual, because he were ex-military, heavy-handed. I think that's the kindest thing I'm going to say about him.
Okay.
To be honest, heavy-handed man. Smack first, ask questions later.
Wow.
So when I went to bed, I didn't get up.
Yeah.
So he woke me up, and he wanted to show me an object beside the cooling towers of the Mexborough power station. And it looked to be about 3/4 of the way up, and I can still see it. I'm 63 now, and I can still see it's vivid as anything. And it was like a swirling lemon to white coloured ball of energy. And I think it were turning anti-clockwise, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
We're watching it. And he'd got some binoculars, which his brother had given him. His brother was a second officer in Navy. So they were decent binoculars, so we're looking at it. And then he left me. It moved, and it started to travel, which looked like it were travelling along the rooftops of the houses of Mexborough.
Okay.
And obviously it could have been, to my young eyes, it looked like it was just above them, but it could have been 100 foot in air. And the cooling towers, I'm not sure at height to them, but something tells me, they were tall. But by this time it had come down lower, and it were travelling along rooftops. And he left me. I presume he went downstairs to watch it front garden and have a cigarette. And I'm looking at it, only child, there's nobody else looking at it, from the bedroom window, and I watch it. I don't see him in garden. So I don't know whether he did or he didn't. And it proceeded to travel all the way along the rooftops of these houses in Mexborough. You could just see all the streetlights and the full length of the town, towards the next town of Swinton. And I can remember sort of straining my neck watching it go right into distance, where it had disappeared towards a place called Dale and Brown's, which is a bottle making factory. That was that. Just an unusual thing. Dad didn't say I'd seen a UFO. I don't think we spoke about it after that.
So just before you go on, do you think your dad was coaxed in any way to take you out to show you that for any kind of reason?
Maybe it was so unusual for him to wake me up to show it me.
Yeah.
I don't understand that one. And we never really spoke much about the unexplained in his later life. He told me a few things towards end of his life. But other than that, no, we never really spoke about it. So whether he was or not, I don't know. And I've often thought, why didn't I ask more questions? But I think we probably all do that, I mean, away from subject to unexplained, I think we probably all think to ourselves, there's so many things I could have or should have asked my mum, my dad, when they were alive, even if it's about some relative.
Yeah.
And you can never retrieve that information. But that said, it's done, isn't it? I can't change that. So, Iain, Jordan, I don't know, a month later, a week later, next night even, I have no idea. I'm laid in this bedroom, the back bedroom. It's a normal, bog standard, 3-bedroomed, semi-detached council house. And occasionally I'd been small bedroom. On other times I'd be in that middle back bedroom, the larger bedroom where my parents were at front, small bedroom at front as well. So I'm in there, and I woke up in night, and it should have been dark, but I could see in the curtains, I think there were 8 eyes, so 4 sets of eyes.
Ugh.
in the curtains.
That is your most awful
Worst
thought.
nightmare,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I weren't frightened as a child.
All right.
I weren't frightened at that point. And I need to just jump back a little bit because people might think they'll never have heard this. A lot of people, a lot younger, won't have heard of this. Now, my mum and dad, they were an hard-working bloke, but we didn't have much. House were clean, but whatever we had, it was for best.
Yeah.
So fiberglass curtains were in vogue. Can you imagine that now? Fiberglass curtains made of fiberglass. You touched them, you just itched. Curtains are shut, and I can see these eyes in the curtains. And two sets, I believe, looked a little bit taller, so there were two in the middle. You know, imagine having two sets of eyes in the middle and one smaller either side. And they're coming in and out of focus. It's like they're coming closer to me. And all I could think were, these are the eyes of cows.
Okay.
We got cattle in the pasture at the back of our garden, literally at the bottom of the garden. And my dad would cut the lawn and he'd throw lawn clippings over and they'd come up, they'd eat them, and then they'd look at you with these big, lifeless, sort of emotionless eyes, but big almond-shaped, apple pip-shaped eyes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they're cattle. No fear. I'm just thinking they're cattle. And then suddenly, they're around me. And they're not cattle, and they're beings.
God.
They're what you would call your typical aliens that are depicted in films.
The Greys.
Yeah, absolutely. But there were two taller ones and there were two smaller ones, and they were there. And I don't know why I wish I'd got memories. You know, I wrote the book Night People, and I've said that in the book. I wish I'd got memories of a beginning and an end. Kind of the beginning was seeing the eyes. There were nothing. The morphing in and out, and then suddenly they're there. There's nothing in between that. And then I'm crying and asking for help, and I can't make a sound. I know I'm crying, and I know I'm screaming, and I'm not making any sound.
Right.
And that was it. That was that cameo of that event over. I probably think to myself, and let's assume that happened, and then another one or two, and that were it between 5 and 7 year old, and then you think no else happened in your life. Then perhaps you might have got to this age, and before that, thinking they were some weird dreams I had, weren't they?
Yeah, distance puts that sort of thought in your head.
Absolutely.
And sorry, Paul, just to confirm, so when you said that you saw these beings, were they now next to you or still outside?
No, they were next to me. They were either side of bed, which can't make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Because bed were against wall. One side of bed were against wall, but they were either side of bed. And I've thrown this about in my mind loads of times over years. Because, you know, you hear of people saying that I got abducted and I floated through wall and I got taken on board an alien craft. I've no memories of anything like that. But I'm wondering if these are screen memories and you actually were somewhere. But I could be wrong. I haven't got an answer for that.
So this brings back a memory of when I was a child. I've told you the story. I was maybe 6 years old, and I woke up crying, and my brother was over me, shaking me awake, and he was like asking me what's wrong, and I kind of woke up like soggy faced, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like shaking me awake, and he's like, "You were screaming and crying in your sleep," and I was like, "No memory of that." And my parents called the doctors out for me, and I was like, absolutely fine. And it's scarily similar to the endpoint that you've just described then. It just leads me to another question. Have you ever undergone any hypnotherapy or anything like that to try and regain these memories?
No, never. And a few people have spoken to me about it over years.
Yeah.
And a few people have said that they can set this up. But I don't want to.
Okay.
I might at some point, but my gut feeling is I probably won't.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to add anything to it or take away. When I wrote Night People, I thought, wow, this is going to be deep, and I'm going to be able to remember some things I've previously forgotten because I'm going to be so entrenched in writing this book. And there were only two things that came through, and we'll get to them. As we go through this, if you want. I don't have to. If I do that, we'll jump forward to where we are now. Yeah. So that event, I didn't tell my dad. I never told my mum.
Right.
To tell my dad, I don't mean it to have got a smack, but I've got lots of memories of just getting smacks.
Yeah. I can imagine it might be the sort of feeling that you think you might not want to go to him with that kind of information.
I wouldn't. But do you know something, Ian? As a child, you haven't got any life experiences to draw upon what you've just experienced.
Yeah.
Imagine how surreal it is now to anybody listening to this.
Yeah.
You guys, myself, when I'm listening to these stories, what people are sharing with me, your jaw doesn't drop, but you think, wow, if this guy's on the level, then something otherworldly is taking place. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what had hit me. I didn't know what had happened, and I carried that. Then there were other events similar, and I realised that there was something happening, but I didn't know what. Another strange story around the same time. Because we lived in this little village, there were 2 buses a day, pretty poor. We couldn't afford taxis or anything, and if we didn't get bus, we had to walk everywhere. My dad drove. So where am I going with this? We'd walk down what's called Ferryboat Lane, and between that there's this pasture and a pond to the left-hand side, which will make sense in a moment. You come to railway crossings and then you come to the town of Mexborough. And me and my mum would walk. And I think the supermarket we would be going to on this particular day were Hillard's. So there'll be some people think, well, I've never heard of Hillard's, but there you go, it's showing how old I am. So as I'm walking along Church Street from Ferryboat Lane, I'm kicking leaves in the air. It's autumn. That's one of the only things I remembered when writing Night People.
Yeah.
So it's hardly a revelation. So we knew that it was autumn. And you come to a disused blacksmith shop. This blacksmith shop were boarded up. It used to belong to a guy called Charlie Shaw, because I Googled Charlie Shaw. Turns out my dad used to work for him.
All right.
Oh, no.
But not at the blacksmiths. My dad were a motor mechanic. And I went and spoke to Charlie, who died about 4 years ago. He was 96 years old, and asked him about this shop and anything. He'd no memories. So there were some stones jutting out from the blacksmith's shop, which I'm assuming the farrier would lift the horse hoof up onto and do his work.
Right,
but I would jump on these stones and climb about, you know. So I'm running along, kicking leaves, and I jumped on these stones, and I looked, because there's a bit of board bust away at the bottom inside blacksmith's shop, and I can't believe what I'm looking at. And no age to specify here, because I just don't know. All I know is I will have been between 5 and maybe 7. And there's a kiln lit up in the blacksmith's, but it's boarded up, it's locked up. Beside the kiln, and I don't mean right next to it, there's a green leather sofa, which is identical to my grandparents' sofa where they live in Conisborough, which is impossible.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know why I could see inside blacksmith, but there's an old lady, and she's between the sofa and the kiln. I mean, I realise what this sounds like. It sounds like some kind of the comforts of madness. It's just nuts. But I'm recalling it as it happened, and I'm looking through, and I'm in awe of this. But there's a recognition, and she looks at me. And my dad at that time worked for a guy called Frank Harrison, who'd got a garage at the top of Quarry Street, where we were on the corner of with the blacksmiths, and he worked as a motor mechanic working on cars, but Frank Harrison also had veteran cars in his garage. Anyway, Frank Harrison had a sister called Maisie with dementia.
Right.
Never left the building.
Yeah.
They lived on premises as well. And I can recall as a little lad, I'd go in and wait for my dad if we went to see him before he finished work, and she'd ask me my name. I didn't know, and then she'd ask me my name again. And so anyway, we get the feeling, you get the idea, and full respect for this lady, obviously. Mm-hmm. But this lady looked like Maisie. And she walked to the window, and she'd got silver hair, or silver grey hair, white to grey smock on, very frail, silver-rimmed glasses or steel-rimmed glasses. And she come to the window and looked at me. And I'm shouting my mum to come and look, quick, look at this.
Yeah.
And where this relates to an alien or UFO scenario, I don't know.
Sounds like a classic Scream memory.
But we're there. We're literally the thickness of the glass away from each other, looking at each other. And there's a recognition of some kind, I don't know what. And I have to go to the supermarket. We come back. I'm carrying these bags of shopping, but I can't wait. And I've told my mum, jump on these steps, these little stones that are jutting out. Look through. It's just darkness. There's nothing there. And you might think, well, we came to talk about alien abductions, but I think it's relevant because that's still as strong in my mind.
Yeah, it's all part and parcel.
And where it fits, I don't know. The sofa from my grandparents shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Maisie Harrison certainly shouldn't have been there.
This is all the high strangeness that accompanies.
Realised, and what's interesting, and I don't mean I never thought about it, but you'd got this blacksmith shop on the corner of Quarry Street. Now, people, once again, guys, you can Google Quarry Street and you'll be able to see the road going up. There's new houses where that blacksmith shop was now. But the old stone houses at the other side of the street, and we're only looking at the width of 2 cars, are still there. I were born in the bottom one.
No way.
All right.
Whether there's a connection there, I don't know. I only stayed there we were only there about 6 months. So that's just another quirky story that I don't know. I don't even know where it fits.
Yeah. Do you think it's anything to do with, if you recall when we did the live show, we touched upon the idea that the paranormal as a whole, there's the theory that it can manifest in ways that you're familiar with. Do you feel like it could be something like that?
Yeah, I think it maybe wears different masks.
Yeah.
And gives us what we want. People may have heard me saying it, and if they haven't, they're going to hear it now, that UFO researchers see UFOs, ghost hunters see ghosts.
Yeah.
If you're into the cryptid phenomena, you're going to see them.
Yeah.
Does it mean that there's one Godhead? and we're not going jumping into religion here, people. I'm not massively religious, but no disrespect to people that are. Mm-hmm. But is there one operator here that's giving everybody what they want? And is everything that we're seeing and experiencing, and I say that and then I contradict myself because of the physical marks that they've left, but is everything that we're seeing and experiencing in some instances just in the mind? Are we imagining it? So the people that then say, I was transported through a wall and I was on board an alien craft. Maybe they were, but maybe the physical, this meat and bone shell that we're all in, was still there. And maybe they've got this ability where they can take what we call the soul, the essence of being human, the consciousness. Yeah. Maybe the consciousness has been transported, and you get people having OBEs, out-of-body experiences. Yeah. And I see myself, obviously, the consciousness, which I like that word better than what I've just said, the consciousness is there looking down on the physical. Mm-hmm. And maybe that they've got this incredible ability to be able to extract that. And none of us actually... We do visit the spacecraft, if they want to use that word. We do dematerialise and pass through a wall like smoke or whatever. Yeah. But it's the consciousness, it's not the physical.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't know, just thoughts on it.
I mean, me and Jordan have spoken a lot in the past about the ultra-terrestrials. So it's like the one entity, like you say, that masquerades as every different one. So it'll come to you as what you think to get whatever it wants from you. And that's not to say that aliens as well don't exist. So maybe, they will come to you and extract, like, maybe the fear, from putting you through those experiences. But like you've experienced having physical marks, maybe that does mean that aliens also do exist.
Yeah, well, maybe the term alien just applies to it all, because it's alien to anything we know and understand.
True.
Yeah. And do you know ultra-terrestrials, extraterrestrials, people or entities living in inner Earth? Do you know, below the oceans of the world, below the surface of the earth, inside? Yeah. Because everything that we're surrounded in, we just live on the crust of this huge ball, don't we?
Yeah.
And there's a lot inside it, and all sorts of things. I'm not a scientist, am I? So we're jumping away from that. But I think to myself, you go to the deepest parts, what they call it, the Mariana Trench, the deepest parts of the oceans in the world. You would think that you're closer to the core, so it should be warm. But it's freezing cold. I mean, there'll be some scientist who'll tell me why. But I just think to myself, we talk about the potential for other intelligences, we call them aliens, just to throw it out there, living below the oceans of the world. But I think within the Earth itself. Yeah. And it just never stops fascinating me. And that's why I still get a buzz with everything surrounding the subject. But jumping back to the masks, and if we can call it masks, is this, some people have absolutely incredible experiences with alien beings, the non-human intelligences. And then there's other people that have horrible experiences, but I still believe that it could be the same intelligence that's delivering both experiences. Or extracting something. I think you said it there, Iain, for what it wants at any given time. You touched on it earlier. And I still believe that's highly possible. And we could be like lab rats.
Yeah.
And just, we've got this young lad here, we're going to follow him throughout his life. We're going to do these things to him and terrify him so he wets the bed, because we never touched on that. I've no fear in saying it. I wouldn't have said it like, imagine in your 20s or your late teens. So, I wet bed till I was 14.
Yeah.
I
mean, it shows the seriousness there.
And exactly, I did, and I got loads and loads of what I think the word in them days were good hidings, because you'd wake up, I'd be praying that my dad had gone to work. Praying that my dad had gone to work. He'd get up early, thank God. You know what I mean? He did work hard, because if I were downstairs or awake and he found out I'd done that, I'd just get smacked.
Yeah.
Right.
No questions, I'd just get smacked. And I also need to stress that these things from childhood, we've established that we haven't got an age. So we say 4 or 5 years old up until 14. They were infrequent. So although you've written a book called Night People with loads of little events in, over years and years, there's sparse. Yeah. So there's not loads of events. There are cameos of events. I wish I'd got a start and an end to them all. But there's loads of cameos of events. But it seemed to peter out at about 14 years old. There were an incredible one in 1970, and I only know it was 1970. I knew it was Christmas. Right. I thought it might have been any period time during Christmas, but it turns out it was New Year's Eve, so we're going to 71.
Right.
We touched on the Dale and Brown's bottle factory. Yeah. Well, my mum and dad were a member of Dale and Brown's sports club.
Right.
So the factory had a sports club, which was in Swinton. Most of the year, they'd go on a weekend, and it was children could go as well. Yeah. And they've got a couple of snooker tables, and they'd play games and bingo, and there'd be a turn on, and it seemed like a great environment and good for kids and that.
It's like where we did our live show, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but they'd got a big football field, a cricket field. You could run about. We run about in dark. We were on disused railway lines. We were all over the place, and it seemed safe. Yeah. Which is crazy, isn't it, in today's world?
Kids
but it seemed safe. Did I say seemed? I should say seemed safe. It's thick with snow. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, the land is white and it's icy. But we're walking because my dad wants to have a beer and he won't drink and drive.
Right.
Back in the day, I dare say he probably had 3 or 4 pints and had a drink. But, it's Christmas, so he's going to have more than that. So we set off, and I've got my best shirt on and my corduroy trousers, probably my only pair of shoes, apart from my playing out shoes, which were once my best shoes. So we're all kind of ready, and we're going to Dale and Brown's club, and we set off in snow, walking down Ferryboat Lane, walk through Mexborough, get to Swinton. What a brilliant night! It was great. Loved it, absolutely. And I got a photograph on social media. There's talking about Dale and Brown Sports Club, and you can look on Facebook, and there's pictures. There's a photograph of me on New Year's Eve at this club at a Christmas party. Anyway, it's not just me. There's a whole group of kids, and I thought, who's that? I recognise me. So anyhow, the party's over. We're walking back. This is as bizarre as it gets. You can hear your feet crunching on you can hear music in houses, and you can hear people shouting in distance, and it's not like Manchester or London, but it's a busy time of the year in a little sleepy town called Mexborough. So we're walking towards Ferryboat Lane, should I say, through Mexborough, through Church Street, past the blacksmiths. We get onto Ferryboat Lane, and we come to the crossings, and there's an old steel bridge, an iron bridge, still there, and the big steel plates on the deck of the bridge, or they call it the deck, the floor. And I run along them. And even in the day, I would be running and slipping about, and you can hear yourself clinking and clanging, and there's the River Don running below it. And then we come to the railway bridge. My dad said, stop. We know there's not going to be, it's after 12, it's probably 1 in the morning, there's not going to be any trains, but he said stop, so I stop.
Yeah.
So we stop, and we go over the railway bridge. I think it's only 2 tracks. First thing I'll do, looking down lane, and in distance, the perspective is from when I first told you guys when we were talking about the UFO that I saw, it would be that distance. But imagine it looking from the other's perspective. I can see our row of council houses. Yeah. They're not all lit up, but you're literally 15, 20 minutes from home.
Yeah.
As I'm looking on this lane, I can't believe what I'm looking at. And there's 2 rabbits and a guinea pig, and they're on left hand side. And there's I think it's a brown rabbit, a black and white rabbit, and then there's a guinea pig. And I were always an hands-on kind of child. And even today, now, I love being out in woodlands. I love going places. If there was something to be seen or something to be explored, I wanted to do it. And I'd got a rabbit in a cage at home, and they were mine. I wanted them. They weren't wild.
Right,
They were,
right.
And we just assumed somebody had dumped their domestic pets.
Right.
Oh, okay.
The next thing I know, my mum's got hold of my hand, and my dad's called Robert. Everybody call him Bob. And she's going, Bob, what are they? What are they? I don't like it. What are they?
Oh, God.
Or worse to that effect. I can't work this out, and I'm taking them. I want them.
Yeah.
And he went, get hold of him. And suddenly, and I can hear it, we were walking in a vacuum. It's hard to explain, and I have had a load of time to try and explain it. But imagine if you talk to somebody through a tube and they put their ear to it.
Yeah.
And it was as though we were, I don't know, we were a long way away from each other, but we weren't. And she's got hold of my hand. And I pulled away again, and she said, my mum was called Sylvia, so we'd call her Sil. Get hold of him, don't let him go. And she's going, what are they, Bob? What are they? And I'm getting dragged past these rabbits and this guinea pig. And I want them, but the fear of my dad outweighed it, because I could hear him getting. And he weren't a person who got frightened of things. Things didn't bother him.
Yeah.
People didn't bother him. He fought fire with fire. So if somebody wanted to fall out with him, he were quite happy to fall out.
Yeah.
And he were frightened. I could hear it. Just keep walking. Don't look at them. Don't look at them. And I'm thinking, what's she on about? What's she on about?
Like, don't look at what?
And she's saying she's frightened. And off we go. I'm dragged past these animals. And there's the YB pond to the right. As I'm going, I had one last attempt to turn round. And as I turn round, so then I'm looking to the opposite side at YB pond, I can see them. And there's 2 of these beings, 2 of these things
that
have been in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they stood in field, just like cardboard cutouts. And I don't mean that they're one-dimensional, but did you just see the silhouette? It's them.
Yeah.
It's them.
You'd have gotten a bit of a shock, wouldn't you, if you'd got this rabbit home
absolutely.
next day, wake up with a grey in a cage.
Yeah, so we're off home. 10 minutes we're in house. My mum won't stop talking about them. I think I probably asked about them once and I got told to shut up. And that I went to bed, and that amazing Christmas, New Year's night just turned to terror for me. Laid in bed because I thought they were coming again.
I can imagine.
Because you're never ready when they come.
Right.
That was one of my questions. Did you ever get a kind of
You're never ready.
Warning? No.
You're never ready, and we'll do that in a moment if you want, Iain. A few days later, a neighbour came round to my mum's, not for that reason. I dare say she just come round for whatever, I don't know. And they're talking downstairs, and this neighbour, I'll not say her first name, but her second name was Stimson, and she lived next door but one. Mrs. Stimson and my mum were talking, and she were telling my mum that her son was coming home in the early hours of New Year's, and he'd seen these unusual, not the beings. He'd definitely seen the animals. I never heard the beings mentioned because I got told to go upstairs or go out. And he'd definitely seen the rabbits and the guinea pig. So there's even now, jumping forward from 1970 to 2025, this man's obviously going to be still with us. Well, I hope he is.
Yeah.
There's information to be gathered even now, which I need to do. Mm-hmm. And he's got an unusual name, so I'll be able to contact this guy. I just haven't. Time has allowed me, but other things get in way. But you came with a question, Iain, while we were on with that.
About being prepared.
Were I ever repaired? Come on, Paul, put your teeth in. Was I ever prepared? I don't think we ever are. Some people maybe. I know there's some people out there who, I don't know, they go on YouTube, they go on podcasts, and they claim to have full-blown conversations with these things, and they're quite, it's almost as though they're best friends. Mm. I've none of that. I've no memories of anything like that, and I were never ever prepared. And believe me, I were wanting to be prepared. Mm-hmm. We'll just paint the picture of being in a 3-bedroom council house with a coal fire for heating and no central heating. Yeah. And you've not got the luxury of beautiful duvets with God knows how many tog now, like we've got now. We've got these just blankets,
fiberglass,
and you wet bed, and you wake up in November at 3 morning, freezing cold, and you've wet bed. Horrible. So, let's paint it as how it is, and let's say the memories of it, because it weren't nice.
Sure, there's a bit of resentment there.
Loads of resentment, but I would get in bed on a night. First of all, I daren't leave bedroom, so that was probably the bedwetting thing. Even though things were happening in the bedroom, I daren't leave the bedroom. When I used to go to bed, I'd jump as far as I could from the landing or wherever I were to get onto bed. And when I got off bed, I'd jump as far as I could, as though I thought there was I didn't know where they were coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought they were under bed. I had no idea where these things were coming from. And you'd get a smack if my dad were in, just because he'd hear this thump on landing.
Of course.
Because, what
are you doing? Yeah.
So anyway, when I went to bed, I'd get all covers and I'd bunch them up around me. And I'd be almost on pillow, and I'd be a tight ball, and I'd leave a little bit to look through, because I was waiting for them. It weren't every night. It probably weren't every month.
Yeah.
And you never knew. But every night I was waiting in fear for them. Every night. Eventually I'd fall asleep.
Yeah.
And that would be it. But what would happen is, if there was one of these visitations, you'd be in the moment. It'd just be happening. You'd be there. It'd be early hours of morning, and it'd be happening.
Yeah, almost like it was just playing for you.
It was just there. Role. It was just happening. You were never ready, and it were always over before you realised it had happened.
Before you got your sort of wherewithal about you.
It were awful. And I don't know what it were about. I know it were about fear. I know that I don't know for sure, but I feel like they were extracting fear.
Yeah.
And I don't know
what else could they possibly be doing.
I think some of it might have been about blood. Which is a crazy thing to say, I realise. But once again, this is in the back bedroom now. I've got memories of them being there and my body feeling perfect. Everything running. And it felt like, when you lay on your arm and it goes dead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anybody's ever, and I'm throwing this out to people listening, I don't know whether anybody's ever experienced that sensation when you move and it comes back to life.
Oh, yeah.
Everything felt like that. And it felt like my blood were leaving my body and coming back in and leaving my body and coming back in, which it probably weren't. But that's what it felt like.
I'm sorry, is this when you were with these beings?
Well, yeah, but probably only 2 occasions of that experience. But you know they're there because you're looking at them and you can't move, but you know they're there and you're screaming.
Well, I cannot imagine.
But there's nothing.
There's no noise coming out. You're screaming, and you sound like you're just screaming, but there's nothing there. And then the next morning you're carrying that because 2 or 3 times and nothing ever again. You think, maybe I dreamt that. They were weird dreams. Can I tell you about them dreams I had in childhood? And you might tell people odd times in your life.
Yeah.
But
when it happens again,
till you're till about 14 years old. I'll tell you what's interesting. I was always frightened. I don't want to say terrified. I was always frightened to sleep at other people's houses.
Okay.
So grandparents are from Scotland. A couple of times a year we'd go to Scotland. And we'd stay there for a couple of weeks. Never happened.
Never happened there.
Never wet bed.
Oh,
terrified of wetting bed. I can't imagine my grandparents finding out I still wet bed and I'm 12, 13 year old.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Interesting.
Never happened.
Wow.
But even though they were infrequent, the visitations in childhood, the bedwetting was every night.
Right.
Every night. Mm-hmm. To the point where I can picture myself in infant school, just before you go up to bigger school, and this horrible teacher, and she won't be with us now, so I don't mind saying her name, called Mrs. Ruane, and she just grabbed my arm in front of class and she went, "Paul Sinclair, do you wee the bed?"
Oh, God.
And that sticks. You must have realised, bloody hell, you must smell. Yeah. do you know what I mean?
God.
And it's crazy, but I don't think you can talk to people about these things without dressing it up as it was, as it came over to me. And is there any more during the childhood experiences that you want to cover here, Iain or Jordan?
I suppose just to clarify, do you recall or can you describe any of the transitional points from the moment you were maybe asleep or seeing these things in your bedroom to being potentially on this craft or whatever it might be?
No, I've no memories whatsoever of ever being on any craft.
Okay.
I can talk about something later in life, but I don't know what that was, where I were banging my hands and I were inside some kind of pewter-coloured room. I remember banging my hands.
Oh, right.
But as a child, no memories of any of that. And the first one, with the eyes in the curtains and that sort of morphing in and out, closer and then far away, closer and far away, that is the closest I can get to being introduced to it. The other times, it's just sheer fear and waiting for it and then waking up in the moment or being aware. Let me readdress that one or rephrase that. And being aware that it's happening and you're in the moment.
Right.
That is the only time. And when it's over, you don't know they've gone.
Is it like a switch has flicked
It's
and
just
you're just there?
Yeah, you just bang. As what was it used to say? You're in the room.
Yeah.
And that was it. Then I think about maybe 13, 14, it stopped. I don't know why. It stopped.
So just before we go on to later in life, I remember you saying a story about you woke up with the pock marks in your arm.
Well, there's loads of them in later life.
Okay.
It had happened once, and it was a hole here, and little marks in my arm as a child. And my mum we used to walk everywhere, and I went to the doctors, saw Dr. Ford in Swinton, and he looked at the marks. When you got the mark, I haven't got a memory of anything being done.
Right.
You can't picture anything coming down to me and doing that. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that in the later parts. But I knew what had done it. Mm-hmm. But Dr. Ford said, because it were all burnt as well, and he said it were a rope burn.
Oh, right.
I'd not been near any ropes or anything. I really hadn't, you know what I mean? But
and do you recall how you got that? Or
that were after one of those episodes.
Right.
But I'd not been, but you don't say, and I never said out to my mum, I wouldn't say out to her. Funnily enough, there was a place called High Melton, which is, we talked about the cooling towers at Mexborough Power Station, and then from where our home was, if you looked beyond the cooling towers, you'd be at Melton Woods, High Melton. We were driving around there one night. So as a bit of a treat, some things that, we didn't have loads of money, as I've said, we'd have a run out somewhere. Just a little run. He'd got a 1600E Cortina. But we stopped and we watched a sphere of light in Melton Woods, and it were in the woods, a big one. It were like the moon moving about in woods, and we watched that. I don't know what happened there, but I remember us watching it. There's probably more recall of different things off the top of my head. You prompted me with a question. I just can't think of anything specific at this particular time, Iain or Jordan, but just be directed by you guys.
There was something I just wanted to say from earlier as well, where it's almost twice now that your dad had
brought
this on in a way. First of all, with the UFO in the sky, and then him saying to
Drove you
stop
out to the woods,
and and then you had this other sighting.
Yeah. And he was frightened, and he never spoke about it.
Right.
Never spoke about it, and it was fear with me and my dad, with me directed towards my dad. I didn't know what we're going. You didn't know what were going to come out of his mouth or what you'd suffer at the end of his hand, if that made sense. We aren't going too deep into things. I think people have got an idea of what it was like. I mean, family, cousins had come. We'd all be acting about, all be having a laugh. This connected to Unexplained, and I'd say something. No, I remember my cousin John. I called him a piglet.
Okay.
Not a pig.
How'd you do?
Not a pig. The next thing I know, I'm being picked up off floor. Wham! He's just brayed me.
Right.
And my cousin's dad took hold of my dad, stopped him. So what are you doing?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But that was just normal.
So for someone like that as your father to be frightened of...
To be frightened, yeah.
Yeah.
That tells you something. And I'm hoping it tells people listening to this the reasons why I never spoke about it in childhood.
Yeah, I understand that.
Interestingly, on the subject of your dad, like these experiences have been known to sort of go through family lineages. So, and I know you spoke to your dad later in life, but is there any indication that it maybe happened to him or grandparents or even your kids? Like, does it follow through the family line?
There's quite a few things happened to girls. We've got 4 girls, and there's a few things happened to their children.
Oh wow!
As regards lineage, this is a totally different avenue, but. We went to Rosslyn a couple of years ago. We stayed in the property next to Rosslyn Chapel, College Hill House. But there was a special reason for us going there. And I had a good friend who's passed away, Andy Tong. Andy used to do family trees, and he did our family tree. And Whitley Strieber, who you'll have heard of, I was talking to Whitley, and Whitley said, you need to research your heritage because I think you've got some connections to Rosslyn Chapel. And I thought, Whitley's just being Whitley, as a showman. Great guy, by the way. But I told Andy Tong this, and he did the family tree, and it turns out, and he sent me the not the scroll, but the sort of breakdown of family heritage. And I'm not certain of the exact ones now because I haven't got it in front of me, but I think I was the 11th generational... William Sinclair was my 11th generational grandparent.
Right.
Allegedly, that's the man who was responsible for Rosslyn Chapel, which is interesting.
Very.
When you consider all of the strangeness surrounding Rosslyn, and let's forget about the Da Vinci Code, because a lot of that was maybe fictitious.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of strangeness connected to Rosslyn. So that was fascinating. But we sort of jumped forward there, and that's just another avenue. And I've not really done any research on it apart from what Andy did with the family tree. So where do you want to go?
Do you think that could be a potential reason why you have experienced what you have?
I don't know. I've got to be honest with you, Jordan. I really don't know. I believe, although I've no reason to sort of put a stamp on it and say that's the reason, is there were a connection. I'm a firm believer in what I've called the intermind connection. And so let's assume then there's something from Rosslyn that's connecting it and throwing it back. Yeah. That's that one. But I'll jump to the cliff tops of Bempton briefly. A fisherman on the cliff tops, rock angling, sees an unusual light in the sky. He's looking at a star-filled night and he's familiar with all the stars and the planets. Might not know the names, but he's familiar where things are positioned. And there's a particularly bright light that he can't work out. And I can see this now. I can name fisherman. He says, and I'm looking at it and really concentrating on it. He says, the next thing, it's over my head.
Right.
He said, and just for a split second, everything lit up like a welder's arc. You could see the blades of grass. They were all like silver.
Yeah.
He said, and then it's gone. I believe that he connected with something there. I believe that what I've termed the intermind connection, I believe that whatever it is, this unknown other, there was some kind of mental stimulus. Just like when people talk about the hitchhiker effect, where people believe that they've taken something back with them from a place of high strangeness. I don't believe that it's something that attaches itself to a person. I think it's just a thought process away. So you've been somewhere, you've experienced something highly unusual, and then they say, oh God, it's come back with me.
Yeah.
I think we can just think about this. I don't think that the the unknown other, the NHI, the phenomena, whatever it is, I don't think it's any concept of time and space like we have. I think it's just a thought process. And if you think hard enough, the eyelids, for want of a better word, of this phenomena will flicker. I've interviewed people who've told me things that they've kept to themselves, say since childhood, or say they're in the 20s or 30s and now they're in the 60s and 70s, and then they've got back to me and said, I feel like it's aware of me. I feel like I've woke something up.
Yeah.
So we know that all they've done is think about it. So this intermind connection, I think that's where we are with it. And now I've lost my thread. So where were we?
No, it's fine. We were talking about sort of interfamily connectedness. So you mentioned your granddaughters. Was it something's happened to those?
Well, my daughters, all the girls have experienced things, particularly in this house where we're sat now.
Right.
Because I went for years. We've been married now 44 years. I never spoke about any of this to my wife when we first got married. Things happened.
So she noticed it?
Yeah, she noticed it. I mean, we both, before we get to this house, we both heard a voice in Conisborough. My parents lived in Conisborough. And obviously, I think this stopped at about 13, 14. I got myself a job as an apprentice joiner. I met Mary when I was 19. She'd come through to our house. You know the score. I'd go through to hers. Anyway, my mum and dad then lived in Conisborough. Mm-hmm. So we moved houses. That's probably when it stopped, actually.
Oh, right.
So was the house a connection? I don't know. Because it weren't an old house. It was a council house. My mum and dad had gone to this pub. Predictable, like clockwork. He'd work hard, come home, have his tea, bath or a shower. Then they'd go out at about 9 o'clock and come back about 10:30 every night. Just have a couple of beers. So me and Mary, we were sat in front of this gas fire watching TV. Faulty Towers were on, I can always remember. Nice. And as you do, they'd gone out and I said, have you put this in? I'm not bothered. He says, shall we go upstairs?
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah.
We're all human, aren't we? Let's face it. So shall we go upstairs? And we sat literally a foot apart in front of this gas fire. And a voice came between us and said, why?
Ooh.
And it weren't my voice.
So you don't
and
want
it
to
weren't
know,
her
Paul.
voice.
Was it a male voice?
It were a male voice, but it weren't. It were just there. It could have just been sat between us.
Can you imagine you after having a lifetime of experience?
Oh,
Mary's like, what was
God.
that? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
no,
yeah.
she didn't say what was that. She said that weren't you, was it? I said no. I said it weren't you. But suffice to say, we didn't go upstairs, and Mary were going to stop that night. But my dad drove her home when he came. She wouldn't stop in house.
Yeah.
So there were lots of little
Wow.
things that happened that shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have heard that voice. In Night People, I wrote about it, and I call it the mighty why, because 3 letters, 1 word had such an impact.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then we jumped forward to 1993, because a few things happened in the properties that we'd lived in to me, but nothing of any great significance, nothing where I'd think, these things, they're here, they're back.
Right, yeah.
And it kind of dissipated. The memories of them, I weren't thinking about it every day. And, it came into my mind, all these childhood experiences, because it's something that's happened that you just can't work out how it's happened. You imagine... You look at them animals when they're in zoos and they're running up and down inside a cage, and you don't know what they're thinking, but they're probably thinking, how the F do I get out of here?
Yeah.
And like your mind's sort of running these situations backwards and forwards, thinking, what it about? Mm-hmm. So anyway, we bought this property where us 3 are sat today. 1993. Massive old Victorian house, which I've since converted into 3 flats. And the staircase used to go up and round, beautiful mahogany staircase. And I were coming up here with our eldest daughter. While we'd bought the property, Mary were down home looking after kids, and I were coming up making it habitable, because it were literally a wreck.
Right.
An old couple had lived in it all of their married life. And when we got this property, everything that were in it were theirs. Nobody wanted it.
Wow.
It turns out, I'll just briefly go into it. From what I believe, the elderly lady remarried well into her 80s. A childhood sweetheart after her husband died. She passed away. No will made. There's a thing, make a will. Everything became these other people. And
right.
So all the personal belongings, the pictures on the sideboards, everything,
Wow.
potties under beds, everything were just in. So anyway, we bought this property and I'm trying to make it habitable. I've employed a plumber to get me some hot water on, and we're doing all that. Things started to happen straight away before we'd moved in. So we're at top of house in one original bedrooms, but beds in. We'd got rid of all beds, but I left a mattress and we put some clean sheets on it. And I'm working on this property as a joiner. Sarah's helping me. She's only a young lass. She's only like 10 or 11, but she wanted to come. I wake up at night and I'm looking onto landing, and flat just on a mattress, and I'm looking out onto landing, and it's a mahogany staircase. So there's got these mahogany spindles, and I wake up at night, and they're white. And it's one of them moments where I'm not even familiar with house, really. We've only just purchased it.
Yeah.
I've only been working on it, I don't know, 3 or 4 days.
All right.
It weren't the first night, but things were happening. First time we went in it, we could hear voices and all sorts of weird stuff. And that's what we'll get to. Some things are meant to be, and maybe this house were meant to be. I wonder if our lives are planned, I wonder if everything that we're doing, you people listening to this, people after me and before me, I wonder if everything's planned and
that is what
script.
Pamela said.
Yep.
And well, I do think that there's something in that. I wouldn't put a stamp on it and say that's what it is, but I do think it's worth considering. And if Pamela says that, full power to Pamela, because I believe that there's some truth in that. So I'm looking out onto landing on this 6 or 8 inch mattress. Sarah's at the other side of me, and I remember looking round, and she's fast asleep. And they're white, these spindles. It's a huge landing, 5 metres by 4 metres of just staircase.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
And they're white. And I thought, I haven't painted them. And then they start to get whiter.
The job list.
Yeah, then they start to get whiter.
Right.
And they get whiter and whiter. And then they look like fluorescent tubes.
Wow.
Oh.
And everything's getting whiter. And when I said I wrote Night People, and I thought I'm going to get loads of flashbacks of things here. And I said there's 2 things. One were kicking leaves at Church Street, and the other was this.
Right.
They were coming up. There were beings coming up, and they were just rising.
In this house?
In this house.
Wow.
Literally 30 feet away from where we sat.
Right, Jordan, I think it's time to go.
And they were there. They were there. It were nothing biblical. But, when you look at children's books at school and you can see a picture of the nativity scene and it looks rich and lustrous, doesn't it?
Yeah. They've all got
That's
auras.
what it looked like. I don't mean they were a baby Jesus.
Yeah.
I want people. I just want. I'm sorry. I just want people to sort of appreciate that it was rich and lustful.
Sort of golden.
Lustrous. Is that even a word? It
is now.
It is now.
Paul
It is
Sinclair
now as
original.
Paul struggles to find the words. And the next thing, these fluorescent tubes that are the spindles, everything just boom. It was just white.
Right.
Wow.
And the next thing I know, it's morning. Now, I didn't remember
okay.
any of the beings lifting up until I wrote Night People. I could only remember the white spindles, the tube spindles, and the explosion of light. And it's morning. No curtains. You're at the top of these houses. There's nobody looking into you. It would be Sunday morning, and we were going to go home. So I woke up, Sarah's awake, and I said, I made Sarah feel like she was doing sweeping up and stuff. So we'll do a few jobs, Sarah, until dinner time, then we'll go home to your mum and your sisters. And I kind of stretched my arms out, and I've got all holes in my arms.
Bloody hell.
Lots of holes, but they weren't. These ones haven't scarred. It were imagine a match head, and the redness of it. They were just everywhere. They were all over my arms, both arms. And then I remembered what I've just told you. Apart from the beings lifting. So
again, with them beings the Greys.
They looked golden and colourful. They looked. They were beings, but they looked like they were in like a rich aura of golds and silvers and blues. It were really, really. That weren't frightening, if I'm being truthful.
I was just going to ask you if that felt frightening.
No, it weren't. So then, after that, it began. It was just happening again till about 1997, 98.
And how old were you, sorry, at this point?
I'm 63 now, so somebody better at maths than me. 1993.
So in your 30s?
Yeah, very early 30s. So then we've got a catalogue of events, because I've got the medical records. It don't prove any of this. It proves something what's happening.
Yeah.
In the medical records, you've got the doctors up at this surgery. Believe it or not, the doctor were called Dr. Watson.
No.
Yeah, seriously. I can't go in any chronological order here because I'm just plucking things out at the top of my head. But he's sending letters to skin specialists, dermatologists and things saying, myself and my partners at the surgery are quite perplexed by the punch hole lesions that keep appearing in this young man's body every 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Wow.
I knew what were happening.
Of course, but you can't say.
I never said a word.
You'll go to
I never said a one word about any of this. I didn't want some kind of I don't know, he's having psychotic episodes, putting on the
Yeah.
medical records.
Yeah.
So
As soon as you said that, the whole demeanour would change.
Yeah, people look at you completely. I don't mean that doesn't happen nowadays, but I think the stigma of all of this, I think things are changing.
Yeah.
Either I'm a good liar and a great storyteller, or I'm telling truth. I know I'm telling truth.
Yeah.
What is it you actually asked this doctor then? I guess
Well,
you went
Dr.
there to
Ford,
find...
as a little boy, I wouldn't have asked him anything. I just stood there in stunned silence. I wasn't saying anything.
Yeah, but as you're in your 30s and you've got these
I'm just going. Yeah, I had to go and show them, and they're prescribing me some kind of ointment for these. They didn't know what they were, and then I'd go 3 months later with some more, and then I'd go 6 months later with some more. And I don't mean it were happening every 3 to 6 months throughout this 93 to 97, 8 period, but it were happening. I think the worst one was 1997, and our girls, Sarah in particular, were old enough to babysit her sisters, and I were all us out. Me and Mary, we were all us out. I worked hard, and only difference with me and my dad were I worked hard and I poured all my attention and energy into my wife and my kids. If anybody were going to punish girls, it were Mary. I don't think I've ever lifted my hand to them in their life. And they'll listen to this at some point maybe, and they'll say, "Oh, he's a liar." No, but no. The point is, that made me different.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that will challenge. If somebody wants to argue with me, I will argue back, but. No, I'm not about smacking kids. Do you know what I mean? That's not my thing. It never has been. Well, where am I going? So, 1997, we were all us out. Sarah were old enough to babysit. I come home this night. I'm assuming it were a Friday. I mean, obviously, medical records will tell us when it were.
Mm-hmm. And they are in the Night People book, aren't they?
They're in the Night People. Some of them are. There's a lot more. There's quite a few, to be honest, Iain. There's quite a few. But anyhow, I'm sort of go to bed. We've had a great night. Kids are awake. We probably took some food in as well, and we've all sort of sat and watched a bit of TV, gone to bed. We're in the back bedroom, which is now the middle flat. We're in this back bedroom, and ask me what happened in that back bedroom as well. There's something else happened in there for one of tenants, and they're no longer in that property, so I don't think it matters.
Right.
And they know about it anyway, because they experienced it. So anyway, we're in this back bedroom. There's houses at back, but they're a good distance away. And I wake up, and it don't feel right. And I feel like childhood, funnily enough. It just, don't know, I feel frightened and it don't feel right.
Right.
And I keep seeing lights on the wall in front of me, like swirling. They're white. And then suddenly, they're either side of me. But Mary's in bed.
The lights are?
No, these beams.
Right, okay.
Just from childhood, the same ones, they're there.
Yeah.
But Mary's in bed.
So they're between you and Mary.
Which tells me that there's something else. When the people say we got removed,
Yeah.
which tells me that, I may have been removed, and during childhood I may have been removed, but somehow you're being given some kind of screen memory.
Something's
because
going on.
One aspect of the story conflicts with the other. They can't be outside of me if I'm laid outside of my wife.
Yeah.
But somehow that's what you're
But
seeing.
that's what I'm seeing and experiencing. And then the pain. I won't say it's the most unbelievable pain I've ever had in my life, but the pain were excruciating. Mm-hmm. I'd got a pain. They were sticking something in my back. They'd got something in my back, and it were turning like a brazen bit. And they're talking to me. Now, this is the first time they've ever spoken to me. You know what I've said? With me and my wife Mary, we heard the voices.
Yeah.
Well, the voice "why."
Yeah.
That were audible. That was in the air. But you hear people talk about did the mind speak, and these things speak to you, communicate within your mind, and you can audibly hear it, but within your mind, which I don't think is much different to clairvoyance. Yeah. That's why I say, like Pamela, I don't think that there's a lot of difference in the science or the exotic science that these things are using. Because if I don't know whether Pamela does, but some clairvoyants hear clairaudience. And they hear the messages relayed from something, from spirit, in their mind. Alien abductees hear clairaudience in a way. So we're dealing with the same thing. I wish researchers and people within their chosen genres could understand that there's the same mechanisms, the same exotic science weaving through it all.
It's like you hear that with Bigfoot encounters and
Bigfoot encounters.
cryptids.
You're spot on, Jordan. You're absolutely right. People, like I said, they will lift a gun up to sort of, I don't know, put a bullet into this monster that they see stood in front of them, and they get a voice in their head saying, "Don't." Mm-hmm. So they're either side of me, and they're talking to me in my head, and they're telling me don't worry.
Of course.
It's a bed spring turning in your back. Of all the things they could say, they could say we've got this super duper laser that we've developed from another world, another galaxy, and we're doing this to heal you. But they went on that, a bed spring.
Okay.
There's no bed spring sticking out of bed.
Yeah.
And they're telling me there's a bed spring and it's turning and the pain is just unbelievable. And I must have passed out.
Right. As you recall this, do you still feel like you were in bed at that point?
Oh, yeah, I felt like I were in
okay.
bed. I felt like I were in bed. They're there outside of me. I can't in my head because I can't move.
So that, I imagine you were on your back.
Yeah, definitely.
So they must have been going through the bed.
I've done all of these things as well, Ian. You're absolutely spot on. I've done that. How could they possibly have done what they were doing if I were on my back in bed?
Yeah.
Which tells me that they're somehow manipulating your mind and you weren't in bed.
Right. I see.
But I don't know. It's so difficult and... it's hard to juggle these thoughts because everything conflicts. Mm-hmm. So the pain's excruciating and it's cold. It's cold. Whatever it is that is in my back is cold. It's so cold. It's like ice.
Yeah.
What did the voice sound like?
It doesn't sound like any voice that I'm familiar with. It's just a voice in my head telling me not to worry. It's a bed spring turning in your back. But I must have fainted. All I can think is I passed out with the pain.
Yeah.
Did it at all sound or was reminiscent to the why?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think it... I was quick when I answered that because nobody's ever asked me that. So I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say I don't know.
Okay. But it didn't connect in your head that...
No.
Oh, I've heard that. Okay.
No, it didn't. I knew I knew when I woke up that it felt like childhood. So that I'm feeling like the atmosphere or something within the pressure of the room or whatever were different.
Oh, it took you back.
It just felt like childhood. It just felt like... And when I saw them lights on wall, they're a distraction. So you picture the headlight or the torch that you stick on a rabbit and the freezing headlights.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people do lamping and that. I don't, and I don't subscribe to it. But what I'm saying is the next thing that rabbit knows is the dog's just... made impact with it, and that's what I feel those lights were. They were the distraction.
Dangling the keys for the baby.
Yeah, look at this, look at this, because the real magic's happening over here.
Interesting.
And that's what I feel what was happening. Just like the rabbits and the guinea pig, they were a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't think they existed.
Interesting.
But then again, that guy saw them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I must have passed out, or I feel I did. So the next thing I know, there's a knocking at the front door. And it's really unusual for me, this Jordan and Iain, that I weren't up because I was very early rising. No matter what time I went to bed, I'm up. But I'm still in bed.
I've noticed your WhatsApp time.
Yeah.
Online.
So I can't work it out. I don't feel like getting up. So I think Jessica went to the door. And where we're looking now, the house over the road, Peter is knocking at the door. It must have been a brief conversation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I don't shout down, what does he want? That's that. We'll get to that one in a moment. So, eventually I get up, sit on edge of bed. Mary turns around in bed, she says, Paul, I don't believe it. I said, what? She says, you've got 3 holes in your back.
God.
I said, you what? 3 holes in your back? Now, I reached round and I could put my finger into one.
Wow.
No blood. And instantly, what I've just told you guys now is what I remembered.
Right.
And I think if there was no pain and no blood, and I honestly believe that if I'd got up, put a T-shirt on, and not seen them till later, I wouldn't even have remembered that.
Right.
Wow.
I know some people have got incredible recall of things, but that's all I remember. And I think that a lot of things that people see and experience, when you get a vague inkling, something happened last night, or I had a weird dream, or maybe you have had an experience, but it's dissipating. It's the people that can retain that memory. Mm-hmm. I can't retain anything more than that. So I remembered. And she said, I'm going to take a picture. And she'd got one of them cameras. You just
Polaroid.
Spits a picture out. And I've still got a picture. And then put that in Night People, didn't we? Thank God she did that. I don't know why. She said, I put a dressing gown on. She went and got a camera and took this picture. And that I wish we'd have took loads. But that was the only picture she took. And that same day, I can't remember whether I went up to Bridlington Doctors, because they'd have been open on a Saturday morning, and he sent me to hospital, or whether I went straight to hospital. I think the first scenario is the right one. I went to the doctor, saw the doctor, and he sent me to hospital.
Right.
But and I can remember the doctors talking to me at the hospital saying, you couldn't have done this yourself. You can tell us who's done it. These wounds are deep.
Right.
You need to tell us who's done them. And I'm sat there and I'm thinking,
what do you
if
say?
I tell you, if I tell you what's happened, you're just going to think I'm a lunatic, you know? And I'll tell you what's interesting, how far things have moved all these years on. There's a brilliant guy, I think he's a physicist, called John Priestland. And he's started a group, an organisation called Unhidden.
Right.
With trained medical professionals.
Right.
They're looking into the reality of what I'm telling you.
It's about time, to be honest.
And what prompted him to look into this reality was night people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice thing to have come out of it.
Well, I knew he were looking into it, and I knew that he's asked for some of my medical records, which I've provided him with. He was on a podcast probably a few months ago, and somebody directed me to it, which was Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it were called Weaponised.
Is it Corbell who's linked with Bob Lazar?
It could be. And obviously everybody will be familiar with George Knapp and Coast to Coast, and probably one of the biggest radio shows. And he's incredible. Both of them, they're incredible work within the field of ufology. But they interviewed John Priestland, and John said, "This is the book," and put it. I thought, wow, that's nice.
Really nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, we are giving my book a plug here, guys.
Please do.
No, but the thing is, it's inspired people from academia to look at the subject with a serious eye.
Good.
If nothing else came from it, that is a really commendable thing, I think, to have happened from it. That's a fantastic thing to have brought to the mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. And the doctors at the hospital, so I'm sat there and I'm probably just covering ground I've already covered. And he's asking me. From there, obviously, he knows I'm lying. I said I just woke up and I'd got these all. He says, you couldn't have done.
Thinks you're lying.
You could not have had these. And I didn't realise the extent of them once I'm sat talking to him. And obviously, when I look at the medical records, there's a bit of a write-up. Not from Bridlington Hospital. That frustrates me, because I've all the medical records and there should be some written information from Bridlington Hospital about that visit, and I've none. When I got the medical records, that's not gone. I don't mean there's a conspiracy, but I've got everything else. But the doctors talk about the wounds extending deep into the dermis, whatever that is.
Skin layers.
And as they've healed, they talk about, just to say briefly, the ones on my arms and these on my back, they've healed with what's known as giant foreign body cells. And you know, being untrained and no knowledge of the medical terminology, I'm thinking foreign body cells? Is this alien? But it's not, but it implies that a surgical or something's entered the body that's foreign to the natural healing process of the body, which is interesting. There'll be people listening to this saying, he's saying it all wrong, but I probably am, but you actually realise I'm on the right track, you know, when I say that. So they sent me for a biopsy, and basically they couldn't determine how or what had caused these wounds.
Wow.
The only thing they discovered in biopsy was that I was allergic to grass pollen, and that's the truth of it. It says that in medical notes.
Oh, right.
And I'd got an open letter to go to the hospital whenever these wounds presented after that. That's what the medical notes said. And the closing of the medical notes is, I am afraid we're going to have to draw a blank with Mr. Sinclair's lesions, punch hole lesions.
Wow.
So there you go.
I mean, you've had many years to think about this now, but have you come to any conclusion why on earth that might have happened to you?
No, to be honest, Jordan, I haven't. Whatever is operating with us, the species, humans, or animals, or plants, is doing it on its own terms, isn't it? And it's doing it for its own reasons. Unless I'm vastly mistaken, and when I leave this planet and pass away, I'm sort of guided somewhere else and saying, we weren't, you nearly killed yourself one day when doing this or whatever, and we were repairing you.
Wow.
It's all hypothetical and speculating, but I've no idea. I've really no idea. And as it's stopped now, I'd like to think it has, but I do think that a lot of this is just a thought process away. There's odd periods in everybody's life where you seem in tune with the unknown other. Some people might never have touched it in their lives. That don't make them any less or any more than me or you. But once you've been touched by it, you're aware of it. And I think if I wanted to change my lifestyle now, I like a beer. Because I think a lot of it's in the mind. I think a lot of the connection to the unknown other is through the mind. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean I drink every night, because I don't. But I eat all wrong foods. I do. I literally eat all wrong foods. I think it's all a matter of a state.
You're among good company.
Yeah. I eat everything I shouldn't eat, don't we all, to some degree? Yeah. But I think if I sort of suddenly started refining my diet, I mean, people might not be expecting to hear this, cut out alcohol and concentrated on the unknown others, I think I could connect with them.
Would you want to do that, though, do you think?
Yeah, that is the question.
Well, no, but I do believe that we do, at certain times in our life, access it. And I draw back to why I think everything's in the mind, and everything's, I don't mean we're imagining it, but everything's mind connected. Let's just jump to the Ouija board. Yeah? I don't use one. We've never used one. But I hear so many stories of people that have used one, and in some instances it's just a cardboard fold-out board like a Monopoly board. In others it's something homemade.
It was a Hasbro game, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's not magic. There's no magical properties to that tool.
It's just a conduit.
The magical property is the mind, and that's giving us that placebo that if you use this, you can access this unknown other.
Because people have done it with just letters on a table.
Absolutely. Yeah. So isn't that, in a roundabout way, a perfect example of telling us that most of what we're looking at and most of what we're experiencing, we can access it through the mind. People say that, if you want to get rid of this, you just pray to God or say the name of Jesus. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but it's the power of the mind that's doing it, is it? Yeah. And we believe in what we're saying. We believe in the Ouija board. We believe the power of the word of God will eradicate these things. No disrespect once again to anybody of religion, none at all, but I think we all underestimate what's inside our own minds.
I think that's very true.
We're the manipulators and I don't know, often we're a product of what we think and what we do and what we speak about anyway, aren't we? We all are, but when it comes to the unexplained, I think we can access this if we want to.
100%.
Just a thought with that. So often people say something along the lines of, you look at the paranormal and it looks back at you.
Same thing.
So with that thought, does it ever make you not want to speak about it because you don't necessarily want to
invoke it?
Yeah, exactly. Bring it more into you.
Yeah, I suppose I know exactly where you're coming from there, and let me be honest, and they say be careful what you wish for. At 63 years old now, after what happened to me in childhood, and I don't mean I'd have some kind of defence mechanism, but I do almost want to experience it now.
Really?
And I realise we're out 4 or 5 times a week and we're having visitation. There's something happening on those cliffs now. We're having true visitation of something. The 7 of us have all experienced it, and I can't wait. We were disappointed we couldn't get out last night because we want to experience it. Because not everything's bad, Jordan, Yeah. And, just because what happened to me in childhood was frightening, traumatic, doesn't mean that everything thereafter is bad. And it doesn't mean, I'm contradicting myself, is the one Godhead. We'll use the term Godhead as an example of not a religion, but is the one source that's dishing out all of this type of phenomena. Or are there many, many phenomena using the same type of exotic science? I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to that. But I do believe that there's good things to be experienced. That's why I sort of draw a line. As soon as somebody starts talking to me and telling me that they're here for the good of mankind, everything's good, I think, well, no, they're not, because I can only draw on my own experiences. But I won't shoot you down for saying you've had an incredible experience or you believe. Yeah. And I think whatever it is that's interacting is interacting with us all individually for its own purpose. And maybe it is to better the individual. Maybe it's to maybe the things that happened to me in childhood are the reasons why we're sat here today and the reasons why I'm so focused on this subject. Maybe if my only role was to push the message out a little bit further, not to the masses, but to people who come into contact with what I talk about. I might be a voice for everyday person, whereas somebody from academia they wouldn't listen to.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's an interesting take.
So do you think the phenomena that you're experiencing when you go out to the cliffs and you go out to all these places, in the woods and the wilderness, do you think that's related to what you experienced as a child? Or do you think it's because of that? Or is it just that's put you on this path, so that's what you're experiencing?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily think it's related to what I experienced as a child, but I think it's made me aware of the reality of it.
Right.
So once you know that this is real, you people say, even now they'll come to you, Iain, they'll come to you, Jordan, myself, people, do you believe in UFOs? Well, if you've seen one, you don't have to believe. Yeah, but if you've seen one, you don't have to believe, because you know.
Yeah.
You might not know what it was, and it could be some government experiment that you've termed as a UFO, thinking it's from some other planet.
Well, it's unidentified, isn't it?
But it's unidentified. But do you believe? You don't have to believe. You've gone past the point of believing, because you know.
Yeah, I mean, you better than most, maybe.
And we were talking about, just briefly, and we're jumping about here, but the Ouija board, and we were talking about that being a tool to access the phenomena. Let's talk about, briefly, bereavement. I've experienced bereavement, but I've not experienced what I'm going to talk about, but I've spoken to lots of people who've told me similar things. So you've lost a loved one, someone that you hold dear. I don't know who, but you've lost one. We've all lost people. Your mind is in a different mode, a different mindset during this terrible period, and mainly focused on the person that you love, and they're in your thoughts, and they're everywhere. And you talk to people, and people are coming up to you and putting their hands on your shoulders and saying, I'm really sorry for your loss, and you can't stop thinking about them. And then, not in every instance, but people say, I saw my dad.
Yeah.
He was at bottom at bed. I saw so-and-so, and they were in garden. Now I looked through a window over there. Then they just faded out. Are we creating that phenomenon?
Yeah.
Do we underestimate the power of what's inside this skull?
Yeah.
Are we creating it, or is the phenomena giving us what we want?
It's a difficult one to try and even.
No right or wrong
about
answer.
it, yeah.
No right or wrong answer. All I like to do, and I think you guys are the same, is let's just throw those lines out there with hooks on. And somebody might listen to this, or suddenly you just switch a light on in their mind, and they think, do you know what? I think this is what's happening, and that's what's happening with that. And suddenly you've not got you might not have a solution, but think that person, that lady, that man has actually just advanced that little bit of a thought that we threw out as a hook with a bit of bait on.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to do, because when I'm putting these things out, there's no stamp on saying this is how it is.
Yeah, I think you'd be daft to say this is what it is.
Yeah.
Because there's no way of knowing, and there is so many options it could be.
And you can't prove it.
Exactly, and it's fantastic to speculate and think about.
A thing I always think of in that realm, as you said, if you have bereavement and then you see this person, I always wonder, with that train of thought, that are we manifesting this? Is that even that person? Because many would think, I saw the ghost of my dad. But actually, if what we're saying is the case, is it actually your dad, or is it
something
the same thing that could have been an alien grey if you had that thought?
I would totally agree. Well, do we actually know that we're not being tricked? And let's assume that whatever interacted with me and other people is doing it because of the intelligence that is the unknown other wants to live through our experiences. Then let's assume that it's showing us a loved one because it wants to see our visceral emotion. Because I think emotions play a part in this. They see, because the things that happened to me in childhood, those beings seemed devoid of emotion. They were nothing. It were like you were dealing with a cold brick. There was just nothing. It's difficult, isn't it? I think I'll end up going to my grave never knowing answers to any of this.
I think that was John Keel's stance at the end of it. He gave up. He was like, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Absolutely. I think the thing to take from it is the knowing that there is a reality, and the thing as well to take from it is, and I don't know whether it gives me comfort, because I don't plan on dropping dead just yet. But if you've got a tape measure, I'm a fair way down that tape measure now at 63. So what I'm saying is that the comfort is the knowing that I think there's something after this life.
Okay.
Yeah.
You hear of people saying, I died on operating table and there were just blackness. Hold on a minute. Let's just draw back on what you've just said. There was something. You had conscious thought that you experienced blackness. Yeah. So there's something after this life, and who's to say that just weren't some transient? And I'm making it nice for myself in case there's just blackness for me. But who's to say that there wasn't something nice after that blackness?
It's like a little waiting room.
Yeah, so I just think to myself, I believe that this is a development process, and we are on some kind of journey that's improving us, or even transmigration, as in reincarnation. Do we come back? I don't know. I mean, there's some incredible religions out there that believe that we do, and there are a lot deeper thinking people than me, and that's what they believe after all their years of deep thought. And then you get people who claim they've had other lives, children who can describe things in detail.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you think, how are they doing it? You know, they're not magicians. They're not Paul McKenna. How are they? You know, because he seems to have an incredible ability to just, I don't know what it is. It's an incredible skill. But how are these people describing the inside of a building as a child that they've never been in?
Yeah.
Take me to this place and I will show you this building.
I'll show you this
If
family.
that's
my
not
whole
proof
family.
of something from another realm that you know, it's fabulous. I know we've jumped all over the place here, guys, haven't we?
I like it.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I think you've answered all the questions. I didn't even answer one question, but you've answered them all. So you've hit every beat, so that's absolutely fantastic. Of all the questions, I've just got one more for you.
Go on then.
So to end with, of the podcast, Two Guys What's Up, there are two hosts. Which one's your favourite?
Which one's... Do you know, that is a really good question, and
Neither.
I don't want to be honest. I don't want to be biased, and I don't. I've come away from this, and I don't really like either of you.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
I hate me too, to be fair.
Let me be blatantly honest. Seriously, met you at Scarborough. I know we'd emailed before, but I met you in Scarborough along with James and Pamela, and Linny came, as you know. And you two were so warm and accommodating, and you said, will we do this interview? And how could I say no?
No, thank you.
We'll do it again. It's been great.
Would love to.
I appreciate
Thank you very
that.
much.
Yeah, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. We'll have a coffee after this.
Sounds great. Thank
Amazing.
you. So just before we go, is there anywhere people can find your work? So if they want to hear a little bit more from you and read all your many interesting books, where can they find it?
Okay, so I have a website, truthproof.uk. You'll be able to buy the paperback books there, the Truth Proof books. So there's 4 books in the Truth Proof series. There's no order in which to, 1, 2, 3 and 4, but if you bought 4, it won't matter. You ain't got to read 1 and if you miss 2, you've missed out on something. They're all pretty much first-hand accounts of the strange and unusual. Then the other book is The Night People, and I've also got Wolflands on there, which is a documentary that I made with Les Drake, which is it's done brilliant, to be honest with you. And that's all cryptid encounters, particularly in the forests of North Yorkshire, which is right up your street. And so the Kindle versions of the books can be found on Amazon.
Nice.
And maybe get the paperbacks on there again at some point. And if anybody wants to look at Wolflands, they can get it on Amazon Prime as a download.
Perfect.
And also, you're on YouTube and TikTok, aren't you?
Well done. I forget all of these things. I never push myself, do I? So the Truth Proof YouTube channel, I think there's nearly 600 short films on there.
Yeah, it's great.
I hope you think that we've improved a little. All right, I'm doing it again. I'm in my own head. I hope you think that I've improved a little bit, because I do all editing of these little films myself. What else we got? Oh, TikTok. You'd think that were for younger people, not some old fart like me at 63-year-old.
Well, and you just told me prior to recording this, you posted something last night, and it's got 40-odd thousand views.
I posted it last night, so I don't know whether you want to even say what date it is today, because I know that when that will be going out, it might date it. But I put a short 25-minute YouTube film on last night at 7 p.m. about myself and a guy called Chris Wright from Scarborough as we walked around the forests in North Yorkshire. I put a 1.5-minute TikTok on, and then at 3 in the morning, my phone's just going ding, 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 and I had a look, and it had got like 8,000 views.
Nice.
When I woke up, it had got 20, and when you guys came, a couple of hours since, it had got 44,000.
Wow.
So I could have a look now.
It's quite a feat, isn't it?
No, I was surprised. I was amazed. I was absolutely amazed. So I've just got to learn how to do this. So if there's any people out there who know the good way of sort of promoting Paul's books on TikTok and all that, let me know. Thanks a lot, guys.
You could do us some work too. But yeah, thank you very much for being with us, Paul.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank
I
you
enjoyed
both.
it. Thank you.
Wow. What do you think about that, Jordan? Compelling stuff. I bloody loved it, Ian. It was a great chat. Put me right back in the room with him. Oh, God, he's actually here.
Hi, Paul.
I'm sorry I left the cup on your windowsill, Paul. Don't hurt me, please.
Yeah, do he told me to leave mine as well.
Jordan, I know you can't hear him. He's on headphones. He says go to his house. He'd like the beating.
Oh, right, okay. No dice.
Yeah, see you later, Paul. Yeah, catch you later, bud. Yeah, you know we're still on for sushi, bro. I'll see you then.
I know that's not true, because you would not be going for sushi.
That is true. Yeah, I'm just going to stand him up.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm hoping the listeners did too. That was fun.
Absolutely, it was a great interview. And Paul, again, thank you for joining us on the show, coming on and telling us your life story.
Absolutely. And it goes without saying, if you do want to get in touch with Paul or find out the things that he's doing, we'll leave the links to all of that in the description.
Yeah, all that cool stuff that you mentioned at the end there.
Deal.
So, John, with that, does that about bring us round to the end of today's episode?
I think it does.
Whoop-da-doo! Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Two Guys What's Up. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you listen to us so you don't miss another episode, and maybe even tell a friend. Take your friend to Paul's house, drink his coffee, eat his biscuits, and ask him if he's heard of Two Guys What's Up, and he'll probably go, who?
Probably. So would I.
You know, those annoying bastards that sat in your living room for the last 3 hours.
Oh yeah, those that left the coffee cups on the side.
Yeah, left you with 0 biscuits.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Oh, those fucking buggers. And one of them stood me up for sushi.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us, our Linktree link is in the bio of this episode, which you can click on and be jetted off to every link you will ever need for all your Two Guys What's Up essentials. Want to get your own Two Guys What's Up t-shirt? Click the link.
Want to listen to the live show, which included Paul Sinclair?
Yeah.
Click the link.
Want to leave your coffee on our windowsills? Click the link.
And if you click that link, it will blast you off to Patreon, the home of all your Two Guys What's Up extra essentials, including shoutouts, t-shirts, aliens and wackers mugs, and if you really can't get enough of our fantastic tales, haunting voices, and delightful interviews, well then now you can get more of each, because there are currently 29 bonus episodes, which come out on the last Friday of every single month, just sitting up there, waiting for your ears to go and gobble up all that extra audio goodness, and all that is available right now, starting with the bonus episodes, for just £3 a month.
So if you want to help support the show and get some cool stuff while you do so, head over to patreon.com/Two Guys What's Up to check out all the goodies over there. The link will be down below for your clicking pleasure.
But if you can't do that but you still like to help us out, then a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice would be the best and freest way to do that for us, and we would be eternally grateful.
Eternally.
But on that note, thanks for listening. Y'all have an amazing week. Now we will see you next Monday. Paul Sinclair loves sushi.
We're recording, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that, lads. I'm just paranoid because when I do these little interviews myself, Paul doesn't press record, which isn't advised, is it? But
Not a problem.